Darkcast Network, bringing our indie podcasts out of the shadows.
Now then, witches and beautiful souls, you are listening to a bonus edition of the Bell Witch podcast with me, Swailes, the Friendly Green Witch. This is a midweek offering for a few reasons. One is, well, because it's spooky season, the best season, and we're celebrating with a lovely bunch of podcast pals in the Moot Loot, and I'm bloody loving it. I'm on such a roll, I tell you. A second reason is to blow my own trumpet a little bit to celebrate the fact that I'm now part of a podcast network. Woohoo, go me! Darkcast Network is a fantastic group of podcasts that are helping independent podcasts with a dark side grow, yes. And you may have noticed the Bell Witch podcast logo has had a bit of a tweak with a little Darkcast sticker, and it's become a bit more vibrant with a border, and it looks a little bit retro. It's got a retro vibe, which I just love. And one last thing, I am humbly asking for your help regarding voting for the Bell Witch podcast on the HubHopper Awards 2024. Yes, I've entered and I've been accepted. So please, dear listener, help the Bell Witch podcast grow by voting for the Bell Witch podcast in the documentary and news non-fiction category. This is quite good because you can choose that category. There's a list of all the podcasts, and the Bell Witch podcast is at the bottom of the list, and there's not many of us. I think there's maybe 7 or 8 of us. That would be brilliant. There's a bit of a short time frame for this, hence why you're getting 2 episodes this week, because I think there's only a week or so before they close the voting. So if you do have the time and the spoons to vote me, the link is everywhere. It's on my link tree. I will put it in the show notes of this episode, and it'll be splashed all over my Instagram and Facebook. So please do vote for me. The address is community.hubhopper.com/vote for your favourite podcast, separated by little dashes. So that would be awesome. All right, that's it from me. Enjoy this rather spooky themed conversation with me and Fiona, who is a fantastic witchy lino printer.
I'm Fiona of Lino Folk fame, and I've been doing Lino Folk as a thing only a few short months actually. I did a stall around Halloween or Samhain, and it went surprisingly well, and I thought, oh, there's something in this. Did some more, set up a little Etsy, and then it's just kind of taken off from there, really.
You're quite new to it then, are you?
I am lino cutting. I only got into lino cutting like last year, and you know how it is. You're like, oh, I'll have a go at this, and I don't think it's very good. I'm going to hide it away and not show anyone. But then a friend of mine had a stall, and she said, oh, do you want to share it with me? And I was like, oh, go on then. So I probably would have never even tried to sell it if a friend hadn't encouraged me.
This lino is absolutely beautiful. I think your account might have got suggested to me on Instagram. I find most of my guests on Instagram. And when I looked at it, it was just so witchy and quite kind of like Tudory. The style you've got is really beautiful, and it works really well in that medium of printing. And imagine how shocked and amazed I was when you do folklore inspired lino cuttings. So it's like, oh my gosh, I need to get her on the podcast to talk about folklore and lino cutting. It's so cool.
And I similarly got messages from you and was like, oh my God, she's got a really cool podcast. Oh, I'm so flattered.
Oh, blushing. Oh my God. So you're not a witch?
No. I'm not. I think I'm very conscious with my artwork because I don't want to do something that's like offends people or they feel like I'm parodying their beliefs. So I'm always trying to like stay on the edge where it's kind of got more of a folklore element to it, so nobody feels like it's some kind of cultural appropriation or something. But I consider myself, I guess, an open-minded skeptic, so I've always had an interest in the other, whether that's paranormal, whether it's the history of witches and kind of, I don't know whether you'd call it an alternative religion or what name you'd give it really, but I can never quite push myself to fully commit, if that makes sense.
Not the time. That's what that says to me. I think eventually it's going to happen. I'm just going to say that.
Never say never.
Never say never. It'll find you when it's ready. That's what it's like. The last lino cut you did, it had a witch on it, I believe, because I saw the witch you had. I was just like, oh my God, it's a witch. It's a witch. Us witches love to be in people's art. We don't mind at all. It's pretty amazing that we get shown in and normalized in art rather than, you know, like the wicked hag grot bags and all that rubbish. It's really nice actually coming from a witch to see myself in such a gorgeous lino printing with it, you know, with a history that surrounds it and inspires it. So I was wondering if you wanted to tell us a few maybe stories that inspire your lino printing.
Yeah, so I guess I was going to mention kind of the couple that actually sort of sell the best, because it's clearly the ones that capture people's imagination the most. So the most recent one that I did of a hedge witch, very, very interested in sort of cunning women, and it kind of grinds my gears a little bit that through history people would go to these people for sort of remedies and for support, but at the same time they were expected to kind of live on the edge of society. Someone that I will mention a little bit later is Mother Shipton, because I think she's a prime example where it's like, you go there and live in a cave and we'll come to you for prophecies, but like, you know, we don't want to associate with you every day. But I like to think that the lady in that print, she's done it on purpose. She wants to go, you know, be with nature and in a nice little cottage, and, you know, it was through choice rather than because of society. I think like a couple of the ones that kind of really seem to capture people's imagination are Hands of Glory. I do love a Hand of Glory. I still haven't been to the one in Whitby. In the, you know, there's, I don't know if you know this, but there's one in the Whitby Museum, and I still haven't been to see it in person, which is
it's
criminal,
just so weird. Because have you heard any of my episodes?
Yes,
I actually do one about the Hand of Glory, because I stayed at Robin Hood's Bay and went on a ghost walk, and one of the stories was about a Hand of Glory. So I did a bit of a podcast because I was just so inspired, an episode on it. I was desperate to go see the hand in Whitby. I had my two little kids and they were like, no, Mummy, I don't want to. And I was like, please, please, children, but they weren't gonna. And then how weird is it that you're talking about Mother Shipton? She's like my favourite witch. And I live on the border of Leeds, of North Yorkshire.
Yeah.
So I live really close to Knaresborough and Mother Shipton. And I will do an episode on her at some point. So it's like the universe has just chucked me a couple of little...
Oh, I see. I was going to say more about her. I won't say too much because I don't want to ruin it for you then in that case. But I absolutely...
Oh, you can, honestly. You can. There'll be loads. There's just so much information out there. You can't be dangling carrots for the witches and being like, I'm not going to tell you now.
Well, I'll talk about Hands of Glory first. So for anyone that doesn't know, which I think is probably very few people that listen to your podcast, it was a hand taken from someone that's been hanged. They would cut it off, they would pickle it or preserve it in some way, and do some kind of ritual. I think the kind of details of that have been lost to the sands of time. And then they would kind of make it into a candle. And the purpose of the Hand of Glory was mainly for people that wanted to rob houses, apparently, because it was meant to put the people that lived in the house to sleep. So you could go in with your little lit hand and sort of rob everyone, and they'd all just sleep through it. Apparently, if one of the fingers wouldn't go out, it's because someone in the house had stayed awake. I don't have the details because I'm terrible at remembering things, but there was apparently a case where someone then in turn got hanged because they tried a Hand of Glory that didn't work. They must have had a duff one.
Does your Hand of Glory have the candles at the end of the tips or in the middle?
I'm a tip person.
You're a tip. Fingertips. You like the fingers?
Fingertips. I don't know. It just looks wrong, I think, with the sort of bald hand. I kind of think people associate that with Harry Potter, and I'm not really
Boo.
a person, so I kind of don't. Yeah, I didn't want to go that route. Sorry to anyone that is a fan. It's mainly just the author. It just kind of ruined it a little bit for me, if I'm honest.
Problematic as fuck. Avoid it like the absolute plague. It is not for me.
Yeah. It's such a shame. I mean, growing up, it was Worst Witch. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
But I just absolutely loved it because I'm just someone that, would accidentally get into trouble and just be really clumsy and just kind of try, but just kind of muck things up. And I think at that time I did fancy myself as a witch, so I wanted to be her.
It were all Sabrina for me. I used to really like Sabrina, with Cat that were just like saying what everybody was thinking. So good.
I imagine my cats do the same thing in real life,
Just looking at you and judging you. Oh, I need a cat. What kind of witch doesn't have a cat?
You do definitely need a cat.
I do. My husband's like, no cats. I'm like, oh. Back to the Hand of Glory. Is that one of your big sellers?
Yes, so that one is, I think, something that just captures people's imagination. I guess some people might be because of Harry Potter, and I just have to live with that. But, I guess it has brought a lot of folklore, like the mandrake, to people's attention. So I guess it's not all bad that it's kind of brought some of that kind of historical stuff into sort of popular knowledge. Yeah, there's just something very iconic about that image of a Hand of Glory.
It's just so dark, isn't it? I love how dark it is, and that there's history behind it that's real, that that isn't a folklore. It's actually a real item in a museum that you can go and see.
I wouldn't recommend it for burglaries, though, apparently. It might not work out so well.
You end up in the slammer.
But unfortunately, Mother Shipton is my worst selling print because a lot of people don't seem to know who she is, which I was absolutely astounded by.
I am surprised by that.
Yeah, I even did a pagan market a couple of months ago for sort of the May festivities in Nottingham, which is an amazing market if people haven't been. I think they do them a couple of times a year. And even then, people didn't seem to know who she was.
You want to get in touch with Nesborough, see if they're interested in buying a bunch off you.
Yeah,
they probably will be, won't they? Because they'll want to look after locals and stuff. Well, I'm presuming you're local.
Well, Sheffield, it's local? Not too far.
Oh, yeah, that's local, yeah. Yorkshire. You're everywhere in Yorkshire's local to me. Does the print look like her then? Does your lino cutting actually?
Yeah, well, it's kind of based on the figure that's in the cave. Again, I didn't want to sort of just copy something. I'm always very conscious when I do something that I don't want to do an exact replica of something that already exists, because copyright reasons, but also I think it's fine to use reference materials, but I think, what's the point if you're not going to sort of make it your own, really? So I've kind of hopefully captured the spirit. So I think the people that do recognise her, it does sort of really chime with them. And I don't know, some people I think just don't want a crone in the house either, which again, a bit of a shame.
I'd love a crone in my house. I'm going to have a look after this. I'll put some pictures up on Instagram, and then you'll have a flurry of people buying Mother Shipton prints.
Yeah,
Mother Shipton.
Yeah, so I guess for anyone that doesn't know, she was known to be kind of a prophetess. I think that's the right term for it, essentially to predict the future. And again, was a wise woman that kind of did remedies for people and was in Nesborough. Nesborough is such a fantastic place anyway. You must feel lucky having that on the doorstep, because it's also got a petrifying waterfall, which is so great, I think, for all ages, really. You can see like Victorian hats, I think some, maybe even some pants that have been petrified, and teddy bears and all sorts.
Pants. I think you used to be able to take your own items and put them in the well, to turn to stone. But I think they had to stop it because everybody did it. Yeah. And they ended up with hundreds of items and nowhere to store them. And now they do teddy bears, and you can buy them from the little shop, which is amazing, because my whole life I've been like, I really want a stone, not teddy bear, but another stone item. So hopefully they'll start doing different items. But it's such a cool idea to keep the funds coming in. And also they sell the wishing well water. I use that actually in my magic. I've got 2 little glass bottles of Mother Shipton's wishing water just to like sprinkle on the altar and make wishes with and stuff. It's really good. Yeah, and they're not expensive. The little bottles are lovely. They'll still look really good on your witchy shell. I remember my mum taking me when I was young, because you can walk down the side, can't you? There's the river, and then there was the cliffs at the other side of the river. And now these cliffs, they've all been built on, so there's loads of houses there. But when I was little, I remember walking with my mum, looking at these cliffs, and I could see faces in the cliff. And it's like a really strong memory I've got. When I go back, I'm always looking, where they might have been, because it's just all flat now with houses. Like, we were looking for ages, going like, oh, look at that face, and look at that face, and proper spooky. A little tale for you. Is there any lino that you like to do the most and you just wish you could do all the time? Like a certain design, or do you like to just mix it up?
I like to mix it up. I think the thing is that the reason I started in the first place was because I'm just obsessed with the medium, and I'm quite impatient. So I like the fact that you can get results relatively quickly. I like the sort of the graphic nature of it. And I literally just started doing designs that I wanted because I was spending a fortune on buying stuff that other people were doing, which I still do. It hasn't stopped that at all. The designs are kind of what interests me rather than maybe what might sell. So sometimes I do have to kind of like think, is that a bit too obscure? If it is, are you prepared to not really sell any? But I haven't done much deities and I guess folklore from across the world. I've done bits and pieces, but I've got literally a massive list of ideas, and there's some things I think I probably will revisit. So I did a green man at one point, and again, that's one of my bigger sellers, but I'm just obsessed with it, kind of earthy things really, and just anything that's touching on sort of folk horror. I really like just horror in general, but it's kind of the meshing of kind of folklore and horror in, kind of the horror of nature and of people that, might have nefarious intentions and kind of magical objects that can be sinister and maybe the devil thrown in there sometimes. Just all that sort of stuff really captures my imagination, and it seems to be capturing everyone's imagination at the moment. And I think there is kind of a real interest in just folk in general and customs, and I'm here for it really. So just more of that sort of thing would be great.
Folk horror, I'm just trying to think of some.
Like the Wicca man's the kind of famous example that people sort of quote. And I guess Midsummer's like, a more recent, really famous one.
It's funny because to me, Wicca man isn't horror. It's just normal. Well, apart from the killing bit where you burn him, we don't burn police officers or anything. But I legit go to camps that make huge effigies out of straw and we burn them. I don't make that connection. It's so funny.
Oh, I just love all that sort of stuff. I don't know. It gives me a feeling that I can't quite describe, like quite an electric feeling. All that folk thing, just like kind of connected with history. I do find, even though I don't know what's making me feel that way, I don't really understand that feeling. I enjoy it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So something like that sounds amazing to me.
I think it's there. I think it'll find you when it's ready. I just got a feeling. It's got a feeling.
I must admit, when I was a teenager, I think that was the time when I guess I've been closest to kind of exploring all that sort of side of things, because I was already kind of interested in just anything other. But I'm ashamed to say I think the craft had quite an effect on me, which again probably isn't the best example, but like I then went out and I was like, right, I need tarot deck, I need some candles, I need a pendulum, I need a crystal ball, I need runes, I need, the full shebang, and just like scattergun approach. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try it. And then when I couldn't make people levitate, I was like, oh.
I could make people levitate. Or change your hair colour and get a different face and all that.
No, I have to do it with hair dye, damn it.
Yeah. Light as a feather, stiff as a board, don't work.
It doesn't work.
Missold.
I probably shouldn't admit this either, but I started holding seances from about 10 years old as well.
Ooh, that's amazing. Tell me more then. Did you do that now as an adult, or?
I haven't done it in a long time because I think it depends on sort of who you're hanging around with. If I was hanging around with other people that were up for it, I would definitely be up for giving it another go, because I think I've always been kind of ghost obsessed, because, you know, growing up, like, it's not like children today. God, I'm sounding really old, but, you know, that they have the internet and they pick these things up. I have no idea how I found out about Ouija boards or spirit boards. I just like had a homemade one, and I used to take it to primary school with me and have break time seances, and it'd be like, give me 50p and I'll get your granddad for you, sort of thing. And people would crowd round for these seances, and then kind of just kept doing it for quite a few years, really, because I was just desperate to find enough evidence that I could go, yes, it's real. And an open-minded skeptic more in that area, I guess, because I still find it fascinating that so many people all through the ages have seen things, and I just can't understand what it is. But then at the same time, I think if there is spirits or unrest, that's not a very comforting thought. So I don't know. I don't know if I want it to be true or not. I just would somehow like to know.
It is an absolute minefield, isn't it? I mean, I do sort of swing to and fro. Yes, it definitely is. No, it's nothing. It definitely is. But I mean, I helped run ghost nights, and my mum was psychic. And she knew stuff about people, and there were no internet then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She just knew, and they were shocked that she knew. I cannot believe that she was faking it. I just can't.
No.
And I get little bits of information about people and whispers in my ear, you know, and it's like, that's got to come from somewhere, because I'm not just making this up.
I think that's the thing. I think intuition is also really, really interesting, because there definitely is something to it. Is it that we read people, or where does that information come from? I don't know, but I find it absolutely fascinating. Even as a skeptic, there's times where I feel like I've picked up on something intuitively about somebody. It's like, have I just picked something up from their demeanour, or, where's that come from? I don't know.
Do you have ghosts in your lino print? Not literally ghosts.
Haunted lino.
I mean, you might.
I might. I mean, who knows? I couldn't possibly comment on that. But yes, I kind of have done some kind of ghosty prints. I would do more, but I think there's a lot of other fabulous artists out there. I think ghosts are quite a hot topic at the moment, so I'm trying to do something that is unique to me, but every now and then ghosts do creep in, because I can't help myself.
Blanket over your head and no feet. No feet.
Yeah, that's how I dress to do my lino printing.
I want a tattoo, of a ghost, and underneath, look, no feet.
Well, I do have an arm that's like cryptids, and I don't have a ghost on there, and I don't have a Mothman on there, and it's just fine. I know.
Time has come.
I do have a Baba Yaga one, though.
Oh gosh, she's a right topic, isn't she? That's another one I need to write down.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, it's weird, because I just never know what people are going to recognise. And like, if you do markets and things, you see people and you think, oh yeah, they're my customer. I can tell, sort of thing. Usually, sort of black clothes, tattoos, piercings. And then every now and then you'll get somebody who just doesn't look like they would be into my stuff. And then they'll come up and be like, oh yeah, that's Baba Yaga, that's blah, 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 that's blah, blah, blah. So there's clearly, it's not just sort of the alternative crowd, I guess, that I kind of know about folklore related things. It's quite far reaching.
Think about it, it's like everybody's history of the past, of the country's past, and it's all connected, isn't it? It's the history of us all, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And even now we say things, sayings and stuff that have come from folklore. And folklore starts out just as a warning, doesn't it, to stop kids going near the pond, because Jenny Greenfingers will grab you and pull you in and you'll drown. And I love that. I had a guest on a few episodes ago, and her thing was folklore as well, her topic, just saying how there's evidence that isn't the evidence people think it is at the time, and it got misinterpreted and then kept hold of and passed down and became something so massive and magical. And then we were kind of sad, because we were saying, well, maybe that's a thing of the past now, because of technology and history and science. Yeah, Amy said perhaps the only folklore we've got right now being made is ghosts, because we can't prove them, and I was a bit like, whoa, mind
Yeah.
blown.
Well, I guess there's that, and I'm also quite interested in urban myths because I think urban myths are kind of the new folklore. I guess it is a modern interpretation of folklore. You've kind of got things like Hat Man, for example, which is, I believe, like a relatively modern addition to kind of shadow people type creature that people are seeing with like a hat and a long coat on, and it's popping up all over the place, but it doesn't have a long history. And obviously Slender Man, there was very tragic true crime story related to that, but again, that was just a creepypasta that then became kind of actual folklore and urban legend.
I don't know this story.
Because I have such a terrible memory, I can't tell you the ins and outs of it, but Slender Man was kind of like an invention on like a creepypasta. There was some kind of competition to invent a creepy new creature. So it's meant to be this kind of like tall, strangely slender man who kind of wants souls or something. And tragically, some young kids in America took it seriously and they thought they'd better make an offering to him. So they actually stabbed a friend of theirs.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's
Yeah.
massive, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, they actually killed her.
Oh my God, when was this?
A few years ago, maybe about a decade ago or something. So it's kind of a little bit like Candyman, I guess. That's what I always think of when I think of urban legends.
There are urban legends from the 90s. Like you taking your homemade Ouija board. I used to stand in toilets with lights off with all girls going like, Candyman, Candyman, expecting him to come out and stab us. Never happened, but we scare each other shitless, and it was so much fun, you know what I mean? It was talk about dicing with danger.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen Talk to Me, but that's kind of, I guess, quite a good example of something similar. I mean, everything that I reference comes from films. I think I am a little bit movie obsessed, but I think that's got kind of the makings of the start of an urban legend as well, because it's, lots of teenagers talking to spirits through a kind of hand that connects them to the other side, and clearly not good for them, but they just can't help themselves, and it just escalates and escalates. But I can imagine, kids inventing something like that in real life.
Is that a story of human beings being disorderly and rebellious? I have seen it, and it is kind of a little bit Hand of Glory-ish, isn't it, really? Because the hand is just really scary looking. Don't they think it's just like a pot effigy, like ceramic?
Yeah.
And it's an actual severed hand, isn't it? Spoilers. Sorry. So, like Lino printing, how long do they take, or does it vary?
Very much does vary, really, because like the Hedge Witch one, I kind of had put that off for quite a while because I knew I was going to have to sort of sit down and do that over a couple of sit-ins, and it took me a lot longer to draw the image because, as well, I guess if you factor in the design side of it as well, that could take any matter of time depending on the complexity, really. Ironically, the Hand of Glory is one of the best sellers, but probably took me one of the least amount of times to draw. Because it is quite a simple drawing, because it just didn't need to be a complex one. But I'm always just trying to push myself, because that was kind of one that I did a bit earlier on. You've just got to keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, really. And I do tend to get bored of things if I'm not learning, if I'm not pushing. God knows what I'll be doing in a year's time.
Massive ones, like
Massive
huge.
ones.
Yeah, but it does take time. And then, when you're pushing it and you slip and you go, "Ugh," and then there's a line in it. And like you say, when you ink it up and roll it out, what's left? The negative of it, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, my favourite bit is that first inking, because you get, obviously, an idea, I was going to say an inclination, of what you're going to get. But I think till you ink it up, you don't really know how bad those slips are or whatever it is. But yeah, I think that's when I like it the most. And then I kind of start to second guess myself once I've printed a few, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could have done that thing. But I guess the thing with lino printing is you can't go back.
You can only add, you can't take away.
Yeah.
So it's like a little more. Oh no, I've done too much. I've wrecked it.
I must admit with some of them I have actually gone over and like painted bits in afterwards because I've carved it out and then I'm like, oh no. Particularly if it's something like faces or something, it's like, oh, I've made that face look a bit janky there. Paint it back in a little bit. Hope nobody notices.
No, well, you've said it now. Just dobbed yourself in it.
I have. It's true. I can always go back and revisit ideas. I really like analog art. I just can't do digital at all. I just like the practice of doing things by hand, and there's something kind of meditative about it, really. And I mean, I'm usually listening to podcasts, so I guess I'm not completely quiet, including this one, obviously.
I'm going to say, I'm mine.
I definitely listen to yours. A lot of what you say really sort of chimes with things that I kind of believe and topics that I'm interested in. Listen to podcasts of things that you're interested in whilst you're doing that. I think, I don't know, it kind of spurs you on a little bit as well, I find. But if you're someone that doesn't have a brain that shuts up, I think podcasts are great because you're listening to that and you're kind of getting into the right state of mind.
Have you got any plans, exclusives you're going to do, or?
So I do actually have one that I've done that isn't sort of out yet, which I'm so excited about. So this was another case of somebody getting in touch and me being like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I don't know if you've ever heard of Mad Alice, who does the Bloody York tours. So she does the ghost tours in York. She's fantastic. Again, I got into her over lockdown because she was doing like virtual ghost tours when we're all at home. So I'd be there with my little glass of wine, tucked up in bed with the lights off, doing a virtual ghost tour. And someone from her team had sort of seen my work and got in touch and sort of said, do you fancy doing some prints that we're going to sort of sell on the shop of kind of figures from, sort of famous figures from York? And I was like, yes, please. So I've only done one so far, and I don't want to say too much about it and ruin it, but I'm hoping there'll be more in the future, and they'll just be sold by the York Bloody Tours. But I mean, I'm someone that if I go to a city, I have to do the ghost tour, at least one ghost tour. In Leeds recently, actually, I went to the Leeds Gothica market.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, oh, well, I'm there. They got some daytime ghost tours. It's like, oh, I'm going to do one. And it's actually someone that's mentioned on that. So it's someone that's from Leeds, but was hanged in York, if that kind of tips anybody off. But also did one which is now on Wikipedia, which is quite exciting. So you never know what random things are going to come your way. So I know someone that runs another podcast called Tales of Britain and Ireland, and it's a folklore one. And again, really cool guy and a really nice guy because he actually goes to the folklore group that I go to, and he wanted to commission a load of people to do pictures of boggarts, not bogarts as I keep calling them. They're not directors, and they're kind of Lancashire-based vengeful ghosts, I believe. There's a Wikipedia page about it, so one of my pictures is on that, so that's quite exciting. So
that is good.
Yeah, that's saying like commissions scare me a little bit because I don't know, I find it quite stressful, like not knowing if what I've done is going to be what people want, and because I've got very limited time because I've got a day job, I kind of don't really want to do ones that aren't something that I vibe with because I don't think I'll do a good job and I think I'd be wasting both our time. But both of those have been like really great opportunities, so I think if there was other things like that, I'd definitely be well up for it.
That was one of my questions, was do you accept commissions? I guess you do, but they've got to be right commissions, and that's fair enough. It's your little business, isn't it? I mean, you're allowed to say yes and no to stuff. You don't have to say yes to everything.
I take quite a lot of pride in it, and someone came to me and sort of said, can you do a family portrait or something? I don't, unless they're all ghosts. Maybe.
I'm going to say... Are you dead?
And I definitely don't want to go the pet route because I got really into doing acrylic paintings years ago with kind of brightly coloured animals and things. I started doing some pet portraits and then I started getting a few more pet portraits, but nearly all of the pets seemed to be ones that had passed away. So it was just making me really sad, and then you'd pass them on to people and they'd be quite upset because of the memories. I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is pets passing is like, or just any animals at all. It's like the worst thing to me. Like it upsets me.
It is kind of ironic though, I must say. The dead. Let's do like a ghost version or something. I don't know, it's quite bad taste, but
yeah, nobody ever asked for that, strangely.
Can you go ghost up my dog?
Crying while I was doing it, probably.
Life and death and all that jazz.
It's probably a bad thing to admit, but if it's people, like, I can kind of accept it. When it's an animal, I can't.
I think that's just a British thing. I think the
I
British
think so.
really cared about animals, like, much more than people.
But you know, a cemetery, I love a good cemetery. Again, I'll go on ghost tours. If I go to a city somewhere, I have to go see, like, if there's a famous cemetery or something, I have to go to that. I see a pet cemetery and I nearly lose it.
Human cemetery is fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all right to mention. I guess I've got actually a couple of stalls coming up next month, both in Leeds.
Oh, absolutely mention.
I am actually going to be at the Leeds Festival of Gothica on the 7th of July. And anyone that's kind of alternatively inclined or sort of a little bit witchy, it's definitely the place to be. There's like so many cool vendors at the previous one. So I'm quite excited about that one. And then Hot Ghoul Summer at the Key Club on the 27th of July. Yeah, I did that thing where you apply for more than one because you do get a lot of rejection. I'll be honest, like with markets, because it's really competitive. So I was like, well, I'll be lucky if I get one, and then I got both, and then I was like, oops. I guess the other thing I kind of wanted to mention, which kind of doesn't in any way tie into anything else we were talking about, so it'll probably be fun to edit. You've talked quite a lot about sort of manifestation recently and kind of law of attraction. That really chimes with me, even though I'm not really sure what causes it. There definitely is, and I found this all through my life, something about putting yourself out there, I guess, and just energy of whatever kind, whether it's a spiritual energy, whether it's an emotion, whether it's something physical. You kind of can reap rewards from that in some way. Coincidences and kind of things. Like earlier you were talking about Jenny Green Teeth, and I did actually do a print of her that failed, and I need to do that again, and it was actually on my head. And then you said it, and it's like, oh, that's strange.
You see.
Yeah, there's something there. I just find it such a fascinating thing, but there's something about putting some kind of positive energy out there, and then it does seem to come back. I mean, obviously, life happens. You don't know what's around the corner, and there'll be things that sort of set you back. But I think just kind of dusting yourself off and keep going and being resilient, and it can really pay off. Whatever is doing it, seeing those opportunities in life, sometimes it does literally feel like the universe is going this way.
It is. You just have to look. I think one of the big things I've noticed since I've started doing all this, the secret stuff and all that, is there's so many signs, so many. Everywhere I look, like I'll hear something and then somebody will say something and it'll be the same thing. And then I'll go to the charity shop and it's there, the same thing. And it's all these little tiny little fairy-sized signposts from the universe going like, yes, follow the breadcrumbs, say yes to this, say yes to that. I mean, just today I've been trying to manifest a moon gazing hair, for my altar work, because I just can't find any that I like. And I had the one that I wanted in my head. I could only find giant versions of it that cost an absolute fortune. And I found one today in the charity shop for £5. And it's beautiful. It is exactly like a Leonardo bronze looking one. Exactly what I wanted. So I was a bit like, oh, thank you for hearing me. And in about a year, but I've got it.
Or just thinking about people and then they get in touch with you. I think you sort of mentioned that recently, and it is just so strange. Like, I don't know how it works, but it does. And I think maybe there's not one answer to things. I think we always try and make a black and white answer to this is the answer behind it, and maybe there isn't always one reason or one way that these things happen, but just looking out for them and following them, when you start doing that, it can be quite life-changing.
And also, I think because we're all so distracted in today's day and age with mobiles and tweets and notifications, and we get distracted away from what I call the universe telling us stuff, and then the universe stops talking basically because it's not being taken notice of. In my Swailes mind, that is what people go through quite a lot, and then they get sucked down into the doom scrolling and compare and despair, and all that lowers your vibe, and your vibe attracts your vibe, and so it's like an absolute can of worms. But it can be as simple or as complicated as you make it. It is really just like, this shit happened to me. I've stewed enough, let it go.
definitely with the social media, I think it's so easy to kind of compare yourself. And I think I am someone that's always done that and just kind of put myself down. You know, you can be like, oh, that person is doing something similar, but they're just so much more amazing, or they've got so many more followers and they've been around the same amount of time. And you have to sometimes just have a word with yourself and
You do.
just kind of go, well, be happy for them.
Exactly.
And you do you.
Be happy for them and be proud of them, because they've obviously worked hard to get there. Nothing's given on a plate. Everybody has to work for what they have eventually, because they've manifested it. So it's like, why be jealous? They've done the hard work. So it's not a great vibe to have. I mean, I was terrible for it until about a year ago. Would you like to plug yourself? Where can we find you? What's your handles and your website and all that jazz?
I am Lino Folk by Fiona on Instagram. I don't have a separate website, but I do also have an Etsy, which is the same name. If anyone is in Sheffield or wants to go to Sheffield, there's an amazing new place called Red Brick Market. I think there's one in Birmingham and one in Liverpool as well. And it's like a massive indoor market that's got like over 100 vendors. And it's a wide range of products in there, but I've got a little space in there and you can go there 7 days a week. But there's loads of witchy stuff in there. So I highly recommend it if you're ever in Sheffield and want a little day trip. Yeah, again, Instagram's probably the best place to find out what markets I've got coming up, because I do try and keep myself busy. Not too many, not too busy. Nice middle ground. I'm still finding that middle ground, because I think I kind of never found success with my artwork, and it's taken me till I'm in my 40s to have enough confidence to just go for it, I think. And I just seem to have hit on something that kind of resonates with other people, which I'm absolutely thrilled about. So, you know, I've kind of hit it hard, and now I'm having to go, okay, maybe find a manageable level. Maybe the last couple of months wasn't it.
Yeah. I still can't believe there's a ghost tour in Leeds, as if I've missed that.
I don't know if they put it on because of the Festival of Gothica. I think the daytime one was, but yeah, I'll fish out the information and pass it on, because yeah, it was kind of 2 people doing it. I think they might be part of some historical society, maybe. Because I think that's the thing. I think people like their history with a bit of grimness and ghosties, don't they? So it kind of sells more seats than just, oh, here's a building that was once a mill or whatever it is.
Thank you for joining me on my little moot loots. It's been a blast talking to you about spooky Lino.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been really lovely.
Thank you so much for listening to the Bell Witch podcast, Witching in the 21st Century, made with love and magic by me, Swailes, the Friendly Green Witch. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you can email me on thebellwitchpodcast@yahoo.com. I love to support other podcasts. If you have a pagan, spiritual, witchy, spooky, scary podcast, send me a trailer. I'll absolutely play it, because there is magic in sharing the audience. Music by Jeff Harvey of Pixabay. Official photographer is Beverly Thornton. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Until next time, stay magical, witches.